Welcome back to Game Talk from the Bench. I'm your host, Drew Barreto, and today I'm here with my guest, my uncle, Andrew Barreto. And today we got a few things to cover. First off, we're going to start talking about the Pacers Thunder NBA Finals matchups. And then next, we'll get into the firing of the New York Knicks' head coach and Tom Thibodeau. After that, we're going to talk about the new the Madden cover athlete, and then some baseball news, some injuries, and a new prospect getting called up to the big leagues. Um, but to start us off, obviously, Game 6, Knicks Pacers was on Saturday. I was out of town, so I couldn't do a TikTok on that. But yeah, they beat the Knicks. They move on to the finals, and now we have an oddly matchup between the Pacers and the Thunders. But before we get more into depth on that, Pascal Siakam won the Eastern Conference MVP over Tyrese Halliburton, and to me, I was kind of confused. I thought Halliburton, deserved it. I thought he was more of a difference maker in that series or in this entire playoffs
Mhm.
than Siakam was. I mean, obviously Siakam had some great games, but I thought Tyrese deserved it. I mean, he averaged 18, almost 19 points. He had almost the same amount of rebounds as Siakam averaged, and then he was averaging close to near. He was averaging 9.8 assists per game, and he had 1.4 steals. I mean, he was playing terrific. For averaging almost 10 assists, he averaged 2 turnovers, which isn't terribly bad. But I mean, Pascal, he had averaged 21 points. He led the team, and then he led the team in rebounds with well, close to 6 rebounds. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Halliburton should have won it, or do you think Siakam was deserving of it?
No, I'm okay with the selection. I watching those games. I think Siakam was the guy that couldn't be stopped. Knicks didn't have an answer for him. They could contain Halliburton to a certain extent. I think there was a game or two in there where Halliburton was off, and that's where Siakam came in and put up big numbers. And just when the Knicks thought that they're coming back, or trying to get the lead, Siakam would just take it inside, or to some mid range. Like, he was just money in the mid range, and he averaged over 20 points, yeah, I had no problem with that. I thought it was funny that Halliburton, he thought it was just they show you see the Instagrams where he thought that was he won, and then they ended up giving it to Siakam. But that was the difference. I thought Siakam, nobody on the Knicks could take him. They put whoever they could on him, and it just wasn't good enough. And obviously they're into the next round, into the finals, and Siakam played a big part. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously he does have finals experience. He won that championship in 2019 with Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors, so he's definitely been here before. For the rest of the other team, they haven't though. But good thing, they do have his leadership and his experience to rely on. Obviously, this OKC Thunder's team is young; they've barely been to the playoffs. Um, but I want to talk about the matchups here. I mean, obviously, Shea's averaging near 30, basically 30 points per game. And behind him is Jalen Williams with 20 and Chet with 16. And this team is just they got a lot of guys that contribute. Obviously, their starting lineup doesn't average double digits like this Pacers lineup does. This the Pacers lineup is just that all these guys contribute 10 plus scoring every game. But obviously for the Thunder, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, they can put up points, they could score, but they're not known for their scoring. They lead that to Shea and to Chet and to Jalen Williams. But it's gonna be interesting. Obviously Andrew Nemhard. Throughout this playoffs, he's had to guard Damian Lillard. He had to guard who's this? He had to guard Donovan Mitchell. He had to guard Jalen Brunson, and he held them pretty well. I mean, obviously Jalen Brunson was putting up 40 points a game, but shooting percentage wise, um, Brunson was only shooting 30% from three. Mitchell was shooting, believe under 30. I don't have the full things on me, but yeah, I mean Nemhard, he's got a big challenge up ahead. I mean, like I said, Shea's averaging 30 plus. and it's gonna be a tough defensive challenge, especially like I said after not Halliburton after Brunson was pinning up about 30 plus in that Knicks series. I mean, it's gonna be a tough defensive matchup for him. They're gonna have to do it collectively. On the broadcast they kept saying you got to double Shea, make the other guys beat you, but there's only you can only double Shea so much. I mean they've tried. I mean the Timberwolves tried a lot of things. They had Jaden McDaniels on him. They finally threw in his zone. They tried double teaming, but he's just so good at getting to the rack, getting to that free throw line. It's gonna be a tough defensive matchup for this Pacers team.
Yeah, they're gonna, Shea will get his. He's gonna go off. Yeah, they may try to, like you said, put two on him and make it harder for him. That's the only thing you really could do because he'll continue to get to the line. He's pretty crafty at getting to the line, so he'll get his free throws and like you say, he's averaging about 30. So yeah, it's but the Pacers they've been playing some impressive basketball. Like you named Nemhard, he's guarding he's got the toughest assignment every series and he's playing well. I mean, they're collectively, all the whole Pacers team is playing some pretty, outstanding defense. To get them in the position where they're at. You got Naismith too. I mean, he's another guy who I think that one game, right? He had what 5 threes in a row or something like
Yeah,
that. Miles Turner, Nemhard, Halliburton, those guys, they're playing some good basketball right now. I mean, I like this. This series, this matchup. Um, I think it's going to be good. A lot of young players there, and you're looking for experience. Like Caruso's the guy on OKC who's got the experience for the Thunder. He's got that championship with the Lakers. What is that? I think it's the bowl year, maybe. Um, I don't have it in front of me, but and then on the other side, Siakam there. He's the main guy there. So it's like who's going to take Siakam? He might have another big series. I mean, I know they got the Dort. He's the what all defensive guy. He's on one of those teams there that defensive players of the year. But yeah, no, I like this. This is gonna be a good finals here. I think I like the matchups, and we got a little something to root for in Jalen Williams. He's over here Santa Clara zone, Jalen Williams. So you kind of root for that guy, and I'm trying to see if there's anybody on the Pacers I want to root for. Probably not.
yeah. Like you said, there's gonna be a different matchup, especially for Siakam. Obviously, um, he was mostly guarded, I believe, by OG Anunoby in the last series. Obviously, the Knicks played. Knicks didn't play many guys. Carlton Towns was always on Miles Turner, and then when they subbed in Mitchell Robinson, he was also on whoever the big man was. But I think this series, if the Thunder keep up the double big man lineup with the Hartenstein and Holmgren, I believe Holmgren's going to be guarding and going up against Siakam, and then obviously Hartenstein will be going up against Turner. So those are gonna be two interesting matchups. Obviously, Holmgren is what 7'2". Siakam himself is still 6'10", 6'11". Um, but yeah, I guess the biggest thing for the Pacers is to just slow down Shea and get out into transition like they did against the Knicks. They scored a lot of points in in transition, and that's how they were able to win that series. They kept getting out in front, pushing the ball, throwing up lobs to guys like Obi Toppin and Hallie was just able to just get out there and run freely. And when you got 2-on-1, 3-on-2, I mean they just executed it perfectly every time. Um, but yeah, and they just got to make sure how they could get Halliburton to run their offense. Obviously, like I said, like you said, Lou Dort was the first team all defensive. Then they got Cruz off the bench, so Halliburton's gonna have it in rough. This series, they're gonna have to find a way for him to get good shots, and be able to make the plays like he does. And the other guys like Nemhard and Neesmith are gonna have to contribute in order to help out um Halliburton big.
Yeah, and they're playing. They're like I was saying earlier. They're playing some really good basketball right now. The confidence level is really high, and all those guys are just feeding off each other. And like you mentioned Obi Toppin, and he was a maniac on that final game. And I was just like, okay, He's alley oop, slam dunking. He's going, getting rebounds. He was all over the place. Um, and so, yeah, I know they're riding high right now, and they know what's in front of them. And their coach, we can't forget about their coach's experience. He's a
Yeah, I was
championship.
gonna say that Rick
He's
Carlisle.
got, yeah, Rick Carly. He's got a ring in his resume. I want to say as a player too, player and coach. But
Yeah, one of the he coached the Mavericks when they won in 2010. They had to go to the gauntlet. They had to play, the young Thunder team. They had to play Miami
yeah,
with LeBron in the finals, and with Dirk. They won it. They had a tough road, and that kind of reminds me of this Pacers team. Thus far, they've had a tough road to get here. They played um obviously the fifth seed Bucks. Giannis. That's not an easy
no,
team. Then they played the first seed Cavs. They beat them in five. And then they played the three seed Knicks, and they just dominated. And now they play the first seed Thunder, and it's part of the last part of
and
the
I think
run.
they made the Knicks. I mean, I know that what did it go? 6 games.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's at times I'm watching this series and it's like, wow, they're really taking it to the Knicks. Like at one point, I was just like, they're way better than the Knicks. Knicks are missing something, and because they are unable to, um, counter attack everything that the Pacers were throwing at them. I know there's some. Like we mentioned, Obi Toppin. There was another guy, T.J. McConnell. Whenever the little minutes he played were effective. Matherton, he was another guy that
yeah,
So all these
Matherin.
guys they were putting in, they're productive. They're giving the Pacers quality minutes. Where it felt like the Knicks, you went Jalen Brunson, main guy, and then it falls off from there. Where Karl Anthony Towns, the inconsistent Josh Hart it was hard to watch Josh Hart. I don't have his stats in front of me, but I was just like, well, this is who's shooting the ball? Is it Josh Hart? Jalen Brunson's
Yeah,
getting just creamed by Nemhard, and they're putting two guys on him, and who does he give the ball to? Mikal Bridges was another guy who was inconsistent, and so yeah, they were just outplayed, and yeah, Pacers took it to them.
yeah, they definitely did. What's your prediction on this final series?
Um, yeah, I think I'm still going OKC. I think they're just you got the MVP, they got the supporting cast, they got the six man. Caruso comes in and brings that energy with him. Uh, I take OKC. I want to say maybe 5, 6, something like
Yeah,
that.
that's
You
what
know,
most experts have. They have Thunder all the way, in 5 games and six
oh, okay,
games. I'm gonna ride the underdog. I'm gonna go with the
there you go.
Pacers. I think I've gone with them almost the whole way, and I'm gonna stick with them. I'm gonna go with the Pacers in seven. Um, really hoping they could pull it out because it'll be a great finals win for them. The first in franchise history. Obviously, it'll be the first for the Thunder as well in their franchise. But yeah, I'm writing Pacers in seven. I think they got the team. I think they got the experience. I think they could beat this Thunder's team. They won the series matchup 3-2 in the regular season,
Mhm.
and so I'm hoping they could do it again.
Yeah, if Siakam does what he's been doing in every series, yeah, that's just gonna be tough. I I don't think you're gonna be able to beat that. This guy averaging, what did he have in that closeout game? I think he had he had 31 points, 5 rebounds. Just padding the stats. Putting in all categories there, and 10 of 18, so he was shooting well, and if he does what Pacers hope he does, yeah, it could be extended even further for sure. So we'll see. I think what's the first game? What, Thursday?
Yeah, for game one is Thursday. Um, for this matchup, but moving on. From we're gonna stay in basketball, but moving on from the finals. The New York Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau after being third in the Eastern Conference and making it to the semifinals. No, not the semifinals. Making it to conference finals. They fire Tom Thibodeau. He's been the coach of the past. um, like 4 seasons, 4 or 5 seasons, and now he's gone. They're looking to go another way. Obviously, you know, Thibodeau was known for playing his starters heavy minutes, playing his guys heavy minutes, and not using many guys off the bench. And you came to see it. After as great as that Knicks team was, they showed fight against Boston. They showed fight, against the Pacers, but you could tell they just didn't have enough in them to get the series win. And yeah, so they're moving on, and that's he's the third head coach that's been fired this season. Obviously, Nuggets fired Michael Malone, but they've hired the interim Adelman, right?
Right, Adelman. Right.
Adelman. Who else was we talking about? Memphis is still on the look for a head coach.
Taylor Jenkins was
Yeah,
fired. Then we had Mike Brown too. I want to say
Mike
that was
Brown was fired earlier in the year. That's correct.
yeah. Michael Malone was fired from the desk. So this is the year of firing good coaches.
Yeah, I
And
guess it is, and there is a lot of coaches out there, to replace. That Knicks team's got a lot of talent. They got a great starting five. Obviously, the bench is a little iffy.
yeah,
But a couple of names out there is Mike Brown. Um, Sam Castle is a name out there. Same with Monty Williams. Um, Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson's dad is a one of the options. Taylor Jenkins is an option, and obviously Michael Malone's an option for the head coaching position. There's right now there's currently a decent amount of head coaches available. Like, Mike Maloney's got championship experience. Um, Obviously, Mike Brown, he's got championship experience as an assistant coach, um, and as a head coach. Taylor Jenkins has experience in the league of going to the playoffs and winning. Um, so yeah, a lot of options for the Knicks. What do you think they go? What direction do you think they
yeah.
go? Because
This is another shocker. I mean, you take a team to the Eastern Conference Finals for the. It says right here, first time in 25 years. Uh, you don't expect to be fired like what a few days later or a week later, whatever it is. And all he did in New York was win. So we'll see what their plan is. I mean, yeah, they are lacking on the roster, and it showed in this last series. They were missing something. If it just fell off tremendously once some of their key players, went cold or were inconsistent, like we've been saying. But yeah, I don't know. I've always liked that Mike Malone. I've always thought he brings a lot. He just very knowledgeable about basketball, and he brings um, just a lot to the whoever he's coaching. And I thought that was a mistake when the Nuggets fired him. So he's available, and I'm sure he interviews well. So I think that would be a good fit, and he would tell upper management right away, like, hey, we need some rebounding, we need some more, we need another shooter too to take some pressure off of Jalen Brunson because uh, those other guys who we had Ananobi. I mean, yeah, he was good too, but you got Bridges. There was Towns, and who's the other guy? Hart. I mean, some of those guys they were just inconsistent during that series, and I'd say another body in there to rebound too. Uh, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I wouldn't mind Michael Malone
yeah,
unless they're going. Who knows at this point? I mean, you fire a coach who just finished, giving you your best season in 25 years. It's just kind of like, yeah, it is shocking. I'm sure the whole NBA world is shocked right now.
yeah, I was like you said, Thibodeau was a winning coach in New York. He's a great head coach. Obviously, the Knicks are looking for another direction. And as a Warriors fan, with Mike Brown available, I would love to bring him back for our defensive, head coach. But I like Mike Brown in New York. That New York team. They had enough offense, but defense was mainly kind of their issue. Unnecessary fouls. Getting their guys in foul trouble and just bad transition defense. Um. So yeah, I'd like to see Mike Brown out there in New York. I think he could really help that Knicks team. Defensively, because they have all the offensive power. They got Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. So offense is not a problem for them. It's just defensively they needed to be better. Um, but moving on from the NBA, we have a new Madden cover athlete, and it's Saquon Barkley, the running back from the Philadelphia. I almost said 76ers. It's the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously Barkley had a career year. In 2024, he had 2,005 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. He was just incredible. For the Eagles, he was probably the main reason why they won the Super Bowl. He's only 28 and he's just a beast in the backfield. Obviously they gave him the extension
Mhm.
um during the offseason, and I think it's well deserving, you know. Um One of the best running backs in the league. Obviously, for the past couple of years it's been quarterbacks, quarterbacks have been the cover. Um and so it's different to now see a new running back as the cover of Madden, but I don't know if you know, there's a thing called the Madden curse. It's where whoever the player is on the Madden,
Of course.
um, something bad happens to them the next year. Trying to think of some players on top of my head. I know, blanking right now, but yeah,
Yeah, no, I got it in front of me. I mean, you're going back here a ways where you got Dante Culpepper.
yeah,
He suffered a season-ending knee injury in the year. Marshall Falk was injured. Michael Vick suffered a fractured fibula. Say Ray Lewis suffered a broken leg. Yeah, it's at one point it was real. I mean, everybody thought it was just this voodoo to be on this cover here. Um, but yeah, I don't know what's been the latest as far as people getting injured. Being on the cover of one of the most iconic video games of all time.
yeah. It's a very iconic game. Many people play it. Obviously, it's got its yeah. So this past season it was John Madden. John Madden obviously passed away. He was the cover, so obviously no athlete was in danger. Um, the year before
Wow.
that, it was Mahomes and Brady, and I believe that was the year Mahomes still won. Um,
Yeah, so I'm looking at that right here. So 2025, the curse got Christian McCaffrey.
there we go. 2025 was
Okay,
McCaffrey.
it limited him to just 4 games in 2024, and then the year before that, you got Josh Allen, which I don't even remember all these covers. I know my son, he plays the game, and I don't even remember all this, but apparently Josh Allen was on the cover, and he ended up playing all 17 games. So it looks like
Uh,
it skipped him.
Yeah, I think he just got
He,
eliminated by the Chiefs again.
some would argue he had a down year. It's 4,300 yards and 29 touchdowns. Damn.
Shit, that's a career year for some guys in the league.
Jeez, man. We'll take it on
Um,
the Raiders all day long. Give me a break. Lamar Jackson would miss a single game in 2020 when he added to the COVID-19 list. Okay, so yeah, 2020 was Mahomes missed some time with a dislocated kneecap later in the season. So they're like pinpointing anytime they got hurt, they're like, kind of correlating it to being on the Madden cover. So
yeah, and
uh,
2019 was Antonio Brown, and he went crazy the year after. So
yeah.
there's that. But yeah, it goes back sometime. So yeah, obviously, say when they asked Saquon about it, he said he wasn't worried about it. He just, was gonna go out there, trust the Lord, and just play his best ball. So it's gonna be interesting. They have him on the cover. They have him doing his backwards hurdle from early in the year. They had him recreate it. So that's the cover. And yeah, that would be nice to talk about that a little bit because the NFL news has been slow, nothing much crazy, nothing big that's happened. Obviously Aaron Rodgers is still unsigned. The
I will
Philadelphia,
predict this though. He doesn't have the year he had last year, so that's a curse.
yeah,
Well,
we'll say he has 1,600 yards.
he had a huge. It was just a monster year.
Yeah,
That, like you said, well worth the Madden cover, and that ridiculous play that that's the curse, or not the curse, but the cover. That was just a ridiculous play to be hurdling someone backwards like that. Um, but yeah, so I'll throw that out there. We'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, if you get under 1,600 or whatever he ended up having, Super Bowl trophy, Super Bowl ring. I mean, yeah,
He was
that was
offensive
just
player of the year.
yeah, that was a phenomenal year for him, and yeah, very deserving of the cover.
Yeah, very much. But that's it for football, really. But moving on to some baseball news. I know you don't watch much baseball, so I'll talk about this. The
Jose
Royals.
Canseco playing.
He's not. But the Royals are calling up the baseball's number 10 overall prospect, Jack Caglianon. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. Um, yeah, he's a first baseman. You know, in AAA, he was batting 319 and 6 home runs in this past in 12 games this year. When he was in Double A, he played 38 games, was batting 322, had 9 home runs. And he was
Who's he
just
play for?
he's on the Kansas City Royals. He was a dual two-way player. He did pitch and he did hit when he was with, I believe he was with the Gators in Florida. But now he's strictly just first baseman. He's strictly just hitting. Now they call him up. I'm pretty sure tonight though he didn't. He made his debut tonight, and I'm pretty sure he went 0 for. I think he went 0 for 3. Yeah. But yeah, it's big. I mean, he's a big kid, 6'5", 250. He's only 22 years old, and he just has raw power in his swing. Um, he
Yeah,
had
I see
opposite.
it right here. Caglione, huh?
Yeah,
Who's that? Italian, maybe?
I'm pretty sure he is. But yeah, he's just got raw power. I mean, like on April 10th, he had an opposite field single for an exit velo of 120 miles per hour, and that is just crazy. Um, this kid is yeah, he's gonna be DH. He's gonna be DH because obviously they do have Vinny Pascantino at first base, but yeah, now they got a star duo with him and Bobby Witt Jr. So that'll be exciting to see. But some other baseball news, it's actually injury news and it's pretty bad, and it's for the Diamondbacks. Corbin Burns was put on the 15-day injured list with right elbow inflammation in his last start. Um, you could see his velo drop down. You know, he's at 95, 95, 96 plus. And he was throwing some cutters at 92. You saw when he talked to there's a clip of him talking to the trainers, of him saying it's my elbow. He said, I'm pretty sure when he said, he was like, it's my elbow, it's dead. He was having a great year. You know, the Diamondbacks gave him the big contract in the offseason. He was 3-2 on the year, to 2.66 ERA, 63 strikeouts. And even his last start, they won. Um, but uh he went 4 and 2/3 and he had 6 strikeouts, 1 bases, balked, 4 hits and 1 earned run. But yeah, they're gonna try to get a second opinion on it, but it is not looking good for that Diamondbacks team, who's currently, I believe, who's currently fourth place in the NL West, and trying to fight their way into the wild card spot. But brutal news for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they just have to try to find a way to replace him. You know, trade deadline is making its way in like a month. So we'll have to wait and see on how they try to replace Corbin Burns for the time being. That'll be all for today. I'd like to thank my guest, my uncle, for joining me all. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. Yeah, thank you, Uncle, for joining me today. And until next time, stay ready.